TMZ run by Harvey Levin, who is been known to be very reputable in the past. So it has become a website of record. OK Magazine, you can take what you want from OK Magazine, trying to say that they've confirmed it as well. I mean, the LA Times, that you have to stand on that record. And if the LA Times, with all these reports of Michael Jackson, are these multiple reports of Michael Jackson being dead, the LA Times coming out and saying he's in a coma, that really puts a big question mark over all the reports that he has passed away. So,
Carlos, I'm going to cut you off because we do have now word, according to the Los Angeles Times is reporting that Michael Jackson has died. Los Angeles Times saying Michael Jackson has died, 50 years old. The Times had been reporting as of just a few minutes ago he had been in a coma again, but that is at this point irrelevant. Michael Jackson, according to Los Angeles Times, has died at the age of 50. For immediate reaction, let's go to NBC's Dan Abrams, who has also covered Michael Jackson for many years. And Dan, your reaction? Okay, actually, let's go to Courtney Hazlett. Courtney, the LA Times reporting that he has died. I wonder if you can put this in some sort of immediate perspective.
The LA Times is reporting he's dead.
Yeah, David, I can definitely put it in perspective for you. For the LA Times to be reporting this, I would say that is the most credible source you have to go with. Who has the greatest number of people on the ground? That would be the LA Times. And this is so shocking. I mean, even for you and I, we've been covering this since news first broke that he was taken to the hospital. It's really hard to wrap your brain around this, especially since I know people who were literally dealing with his management hours ago, trying to work out, some additional tour dates and some more appearances. Michael Jackson, by all accounts, the people I spoke to within his circle, was full of life up until this point. He had been wanting to add rehearsals to his day. He'd been completely enthusiastic, not struggling with rehearsals for his upcoming concert series in London. This comes as an absolute shock. And I think some people might seem incredulous about that given his frail appearance and the fact that he was so reclusive and truthfully just a man who had bizarre habits. Let's just be honest about it. A lot of people would say, well, of course he wasn't in good health. But the truth of the matter is the people closest to him were adamant that he was in great shape. So this is a tremendous shock. Tremendous.
Let's go to NBC's Dan Abrams, who also spent a big part of his career in Los Angeles and at times covering Michael Jackson. Dan, the news that Michael Jackson has died, I imagine a shock for everybody, but your immediate thoughts?
David, as we talk about the gathering of information when it comes to Michael Jackson, it's really not surprising we've been getting conflicting reports because the spokespeople for Michael Jackson have always notoriously let's just say not always been straightforward about his health, his condition, what he said, what he hasn't said. So that has always made it difficult reporting on information with regard to Michael Jackson. It's always why there's been enormous rumors circulating about him because we've often had a lot of trouble getting very clear and accurate information from a lot of the people who are his spokespeople. With all of that said, the fact that now there appears to be confirmed reports of Michael Jackson's death, look, of course it is shocking. He has always looked extremely frail. I can tell you that having sat with him in that courtroom day after day, looking at him, he always looked unhealthy. He always looked skeletal. But, still as a young man, I think a relatively young man, we certainly wouldn't have expected something like this. I think that he has been sickly. I think that ever since his trial, there have also been psychological concerns about him. So I think that a lot of the people closest to him may not be as surprised as those of us who are not.
NBC's Dan Abrams. Dan, thank you. We're going to be getting back to Dan in the course of our coverage, of course, in the hours ahead. And again, to give you the attribution, the Los Angeles Times, this is from them. Pop star Michael Jackson was pronounced dead by doctors this afternoon after arriving at a hospital in a deep coma. City and law enforcement sources told the Times. Los Angeles Times attributing this to city and law enforcement sources, not the hospital, not the UCLA Medical Center, the live picture we're showing there. But again, the LA Times is based on sources that they believe to be reputable and accurate, as reporting that Michael Jackson has died. Dan, in terms of the sort of overall career of Michael Jackson, I sort of wonder if in the grand scheme of things, will Jackson be remembered for the greatest selling album of all time, or will it be the weirdness, the sort of the way that people just didn't understand his relationship with children, or the way he sort of approached people, or the strange outfits that he wore?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good question. I mean, because when you think about the enormity of the success that Michael Jackson had leading up to everything that happened, it's hard to imagine that he wouldn't simply be remembered for being an enormous pop star. But you're right. I think that there will be, at best for Michael Jackson, a mixed memory of him. I think that his songs, I think that the Jackson 5, I think his album, Bad, that was one of the most successful albums ever, will forever be remembered. But I think when people talk about Michael Jackson, the person, it will be impossible to talk about it without also mentioning all of the controversy that has surrounded him for his trial, and as you point out, beyond just his trial, but his behavior over the years. The way that he put veils over his children, questions about whether he actually had children for a long time, who with, the mystery surrounding his life, etc. So I think that when people talk about Michael Jackson as an individual, it's going to be impossible not to talk about those things as well.
NBC's Dan Abrams joining us in our live continuing coverage now. Grim, sad, surprising news from Los Angeles. The LA Times reporting that Michael Jackson died this afternoon. Jackson was apparently taken to the UCLA Medical Center just a few miles from his house, apparently unconscious. Paramedics had received a call about somebody was unconscious and unresponsive. The paramedics arrived. According to a number of reports, they performed CPR and then took Jackson to the UCLA Medical Center, which is very nearby. And according to the Los Angeles Times, when Jackson arrived, he was pronounced dead by doctors after he was in a deep coma. And again, this is according to the Los Angeles Times, attributing this to city and law enforcement sources. The live pictures that we're showing, that is actually the street next to the UCLA Medical Center. You can see some of the crowds there on the left side of your screen. When the camera pans over then across the street, we saw a few minutes ago sort of circle a gathering of a number of photographers and some news vans. One would presume that at a certain point tonight, the UCLA Medical Center or a spokesperson will actually come forward and give some sort of official statement, some sort of official confirmation from the hospital, because, as we've been saying, right now the hospital has not been saying anything. But now NBC News can confirm. We repeat, NBC News has confirmed that Michael Jackson has died. NBC News confirms that Michael Jackson died this afternoon in Los Angeles. Again, backing up the reporting from Los Angeles Times and others, NBC News confirms that Michael Jackson, the king of pop, dead at the age of 50. A death that will no doubt shock, surprise, stun so many people in Hollywood and across around the world on a day when much of the entertainment industry was already mourning the loss of Farrah Fawcett, a 1970s icon. Michael Jackson, of course, perhaps one of the biggest icons of the 1980s, and perhaps even longer, sometimes for reasons not to his benefit. But there you're seeing the live pictures. We believe those are photographers and camera crews are setting up, trying to sort of organize an area where microphones can be established, and a hospital spokesperson, if in fact they come out, can give an official briefing to reporters, or if family members come out. And of course you can see the telltale Eyewitness News, the vans in the background with the trucks parked alongside. And so they've cabled to that particular location, and will wait now for the official confirmation, which of course will probably be the last confirmation of news that people now probably already trust. The Los Angeles Times reporting, NBC News reporting that Michael Jackson this afternoon died. All of this began to unfold approximately 3 hours ago.